All right, guys. Third installment of your cooking sessions. I'm Chef Kev D. I don't have to tell you all the shows I've been on. You guys have heard this spiel the last couple of weeks. And you guys have been doing great. I've seen some pictures. You guys are following along. This class, once again, is brought to you by Rhienas and Brown. Ron and Josh, super good guys. All your financial questions, you guys shoot questions to Melissa. Culinary questions, right in the chat box. I will respond to every single one. Any questions at all, please feel free to ask. This is the last chance for now that you're going to have me live for a half hour, so you can ask anything you want. Also, there were some questions after the fact last week, and now that I've been working with you guys for 3 weeks, feel free to reach out with any questions about any of the recipes we did, whether it's through Melissa or straight on my website at chefkevd.com. I'm glad to answer any questions moving forward. If you're going to try this again in a couple of weeks and you can't remember, want to ask some questions, please feel free to do so. That being said, we're going to get started today. We've got two dishes. We have a chicken dish with some Madeira mushroom sauce. You can surely use white wine if you don't have Madeira or Marsala. They all go well together. And we're also going to do some fresh epoli with Nutella. So step number one, because it takes a little while, we want to get a medium sauce pot on, halfway full of canola oil, and get that on about a medium heat. So if you have induction, about a 6 flame, medium flame, and we're going to start warming that up for when it's time to fry our zeppoli for dessert. So we don't have to wait for that, so we want to get that kind of going off to the side, get that warming up, and then we'll get right into our chicken dish.
So Chef, there's already questions coming in. People are asking about your tools of the trade, you know, maybe your knives and what your go-to knife set is, and maybe some of your perfect tools that you'd like.
Yeah, so most importantly, good set of tongs. I touch everything with tongs. Occasionally I wear gloves, but you don't need to wear gloves if you use tongs. You can use tongs for everything. Get a good solid pair. That's good. And then, thanks for asking. I have my own set of knives, Chef Kev D, lined with flint and flame. You can get these on my website. This is a 6-inch Santoku that I use for everything under the sun. There's a chef knife and a boning knife and all kinds of other fun things, but if you want one knife that can do it all, this is perfect size to do it all. And that's flint and flame knife. You can find that on my website as well. Other than that, a good side towel, tongs, and a knife, and you can pretty much accomplish anything in the kitchen if you need to. So you guys get your oil warming up. We want a medium saute pan. We're going to saute our chicken in, and you want to start warming that up on about a 6. While that's warming up, we're going to throw a little dollop of canola oil in there and start getting that warm for our chicken. Again, about two. This is a big pan, so I did a little more, but for a medium saute pan, about the size of a quarter. Just enough to coat a non-stick pan if you have it, not necessary if you don't. So now that that's getting warm, I have a couple chicken breasts here. These are about 8 ounces. You can use anywhere from a 6 to an 8 ounce. If you end up getting the really big ones at the store, I suggest butterflying them, which is just cutting them down the middle to make them a little thinner. But these are perfect for what we're doing tonight. Obviously 2 breasts, so you could serve 2 or 3 people with this tonight. So first thing we do with any meat that we're sauteing is that we're going to salt and pepper one side. And now that our pan is nice and warm, we're going to go right into our pan with the salt and pepper side down, and then we're going to go ahead and season the other side, which we didn't yet. Because we're not trying to touch the chicken too much. Obviously, you guys know you don't want to get chicken juice all over your kitchen, so if you use a glove or tongs or anything like that, the less touching, the better. So, while that's going to saute, that's going to take a few minutes because it's a nice thick breast. We're going to start chopping our veg over here. I have some baby portobellas, which is perfect for this dish. If you want to sub out porcinis or chanterelles, any type of mushroom you want, these are perfect size-wise for the dish, but you can really use any type of mushrooms you want for this. We're going to slice them. You can quarter them. We had a question earlier about washing the mushrooms. If you get them in the cryovac pack, they're already been cut, the ends have been cut off and they've been washed. You don't necessarily have to. If you get them out of the big pile of mushrooms at your store, I would definitely just trim the ends because there's a lot of dirt on there, and then give them a quick rinse. Throw them in the colander, set them aside for a few minutes so they can dry out because they do tend to soak up the moisture. And for these, we're just going to do a quick slice. It's going to be home style, so we don't have to worry about the perfect julienne or anything like that. We're just going to run a knife over it. Well, we're doing about, these are medium sized, we're going to do about 4 or 5 mushrooms in this dish for 2 breasts. Okay? And then also, we're going to peel a shallot. This is 1 whole shallot. Now, you can get them just in the little jars, already minced, just like your garlic. This is a whole one, so we treat it just like an onion. We're just going to cut the ends off, cut it down the middle once.
So, Chef, while you're cutting up the shallots, can you explain to people the difference between a shallot and an onion and flavor profile?
So this is in the onion family. They're obviously much smaller and much more packed with flavor, not quite as pungent as a red onion or a Vidalia. It's kind of a cross between garlic and an onion, if you will. Size-wise, same peel, everything. So we're just going to, again, just a rough chop, mince. And we're going to be about a tablespoon of minced shallots when we're done, is what we want to use. Check on our chicken. Starting to get golden. Going to crank that up to about a 7. Meantime, you're paying attention to your oil. If you do have a thermometer, meat thermometer, or a candy thermometer, you pop it in there. You want it to get right in the 350 ballpark. 340, 350 is perfect. But we're going to try it out. So if not, about a 6, 6.5 is perfect for what we need. Any questions yet?
What about the browning of the chicken breast? Sometimes I overcook chicken breast. How can I prevent that?
So we just want to do, I think the last couple weeks we've been searing meat basically for presentation purposes. This is perfect, and it's also very quick. We want to get a hard sear, medium sear on the chicken on the outside, and then we're going to finish it off. We're going to cook our sauce right in the same pan, what we in the biz call a pan sauce, and they also don't need a lot of different pots and pans going on. So we're going to flip that now. It's starting to get golden. We're going to flip it and let that cook a little bit. Our next ingredient in our sauce is going to be fresh rosemary. This is a stalk of fresh rosemary. You've all seen it before. The way that we're going to clean this, and we're just going to pull the leaves off the stem, like this. And then we're just going to rough chop it. Nobody wants to be chewing on a lot of herbs and leaves, so you want to get a nice chop on it. And that also opens it up. You get that aromatic, you get those smells. It's going to help with flavor. And to review, while our chicken is cooking, we have our oil going for our zeppoli. That's off to the side. We're not worried about that. We started by searing our chicken with a little salt and pepper. And we have sliced some mushrooms, chopped some shallots, and also a little rosemary. If I'm going too fast, just yell at the screen, tell me to slow down. The crew behind the camera will yell at me and tell me to slow down. So we're at about a medium on our chicken. We want to take our shallots, which we've just chopped. We're going to go right in that same pan. And we're going to saute those up. We can start to smell it. We can start to build flavors. We have salt, pepper, shallots, a little bit of olive oil. I know some of you ordered the wine. If not, you're having your favorite white with this dish. You can always drink red with whatever you want, but I have a nice oaky Chardonnay with some notes of fruit. See that? Since I am at VINOvations, I have to figure I'd give you some pointers about the wine. So we're caramelizing our shallots. We got a nice sear going on our chicken. And as soon as those shallots start to caramelize, we're going to throw in our mushrooms, then our rosemary, and then we're going to start to build the sauce. And we're actually going to baste the chicken as we're finishing it off. That's going to help with cooking it through, and also it's going to get that flavor through there instead of just kind of throwing a seared chicken on a plate and then adding the sauce after the fact. So, a good way to tell if chicken is done, if you do have a meat thermometer at home, you want to get it up to about 165. I don't temp my chicken, I can tell by looking and touching. So if you feel like you want to stick a thermometer in it, once it gets to 165, you're good to go. Your oil's off to the side getting warm, that's for your dessert. I also have my oven on 350, so if you guys are trepidatious or worried about cooking chicken at all, pop your oven on 350 right now, and we can always finish this dish right in the oven, cook it for a couple more minutes and finish it off before we plate it. It depends on obviously the thickness of your chicken, how long it takes. If you have the pounded out cutlets and cooks like that, these probably take about 10 minutes because they're nice and fat cutlets. You can also do this with tenders or small chunks and do it as more of a saute dish than a full-on chicken cutlet. What do we got?
Well, this is definitely not your chicken tenders for sure, right? Out of the McDonald's. This is like really nice looking, fresh, healthy chicken.
Yeah, this would be something you get in a high-end restaurant, but it's super simple to make.
So talk about health factors and can you sub anything? I mean, you're pretty lean here, it looks like. Is there anything else that you can do to make it even a cleaner dish than it is?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to add butter in the sauce. If you don't want to use butter, you don't have to. It definitely helps with the consistency and the thickness. We just added in our mushrooms, and we're going to saute those as well. This is all in one pan, okay? You could do this with pork, but the sweetness of the Madeira and the mushrooms and the shallot, they play really well with chicken. So this is an old classic, Marsala wine sauce, Madeira wine sauce. You've seen it quite a few times, but now you're going to know how to make it for yourself. You can see our shallots are starting to caramelize. And we're now sauteing our mushrooms. All right. How you guys doing? Need a recap? You good to go? Everybody's on the same page? We're all right here. Chicken, salt, pepper, shallots, mushrooms, and we're just finishing to cook our chicken up. We want to get our mushrooms to a nice medium. We don't want to overcook them so they're mushy and they fall apart, but we also don't want them to be too stiff. So we just want a nice medium if you were going to take a temp on a mushroom. We're going to throw in a little bit of our rosemary. We're going to get that cooked a little bit. Then we're going to add our wine and some butter, finish the sauce, thicken it up, and we're going to also baste the chicken as we go. A good way for me to tell is I take the tongs, trusty tongs, and I just break the chicken open like that. I can see this still has a little ways to go, so we're getting close. So you all know what raw chicken looks like, and you all know what cooked chicken looks like. So we are getting pretty close. If it starts to get hot, you can kick it down one number. And we're getting ready to add our Madeira wine. So, be very careful if you have gas and you have a flame, you want to pull it off the gas. Just go around the outside a little bit like that and deglaze. And then you're going to throw it back on your flame. It's going to pop into flames a little bit. Madeira is not too high in alcohol, so it's not like a bourbon or a vodka or something like that, which is going to get a big pillar bloom of flames, which you don't want. We want to burn this alcohol off slowly. For those of you who have reduction like I have, it will cook off and will start to reduce, and you'll be fine.
Chef, what's the flavor profile of the Madeira wine? Is it a sweeter wine? Is it more acidic? What's the flavor?
Yes, it's a sweeter wine, which is why it goes perfect with this dish. And then we're going to add butter, salt, pepper, so it's a little bit sweet. It's got a little bit of kick. Definitely thicker than a white wine, but if you don't have Madeira or Marsala, feel free to use a white wine with this dish. It'll go perfect. So, right about now, we have our mushrooms at medium, our rosemary's incorporated in there, shallots have been caramelized, and our Madeira is starting to reduce. So we're going to take a couple pads of butter. Since I have two big breasts here, not a joke, but I do have two big breasts here, we're going to add a couple pats of butter. If you have one breast, you're only going to want to do one or two. I've done 4 since we have a good amount of sauce here in the pan. And you can see that's starting to thicken. Oh yeah, my chicken is just about done. You can see that at home? How you get your nice fibers there, and it's all cooked through. It's not opaque like raw chicken. You can pull it apart and you can tell that it's definitely done. So we're going to take a spoon as this is cooking, and we're just going to go right over our chicken. And that's going to get those flavors right in there and continue to cook. And we're just going to keep basting that, and we're going to plate it in 1 or 2 minutes, and we're going to be good to go. Now, see that thickness of the sauce? That's what we want. We don't want it to be too thin. Take a nice bowl. Because there's a lot of sauce, you want something that has some ridges on it. Not necessarily a bowl, but something with a little lip. If you wanted to do this with roasted potatoes or risotto, polenta, any kind of starch, or other vegetables other than the mushrooms, sauteed spinach, you could certainly place a bed of risotto, spinach, chicken, sauce on top, and you have a totally composed dish. What do we got? You guys are all getting close. If I was going to cook this, obviously for a big group, I would sear them first, and I would definitely finish it in the oven. Since there's only 2 here, we're just going to finish it in the pan. But if, say, I was going to have a dozen guests, I'd sear off 10 to 12 on both sides, pop them in the oven, and then finish them off with the sauce on a big platter. But we only have 2 going here, so yeah, that's perfect. So we're just going to put our chicken in the center of the plate. That nice caramelized brown is what we're looking for. A nice thickness to our sauce. We're going to finish it with a little bit of salt and pepper. And can you see that at home? We're going to go right over our chicken with those beautiful mushrooms. And if you want, you can put a sprig of rosemary in there for fun. If not, you can do microgreens, whatever you like. But you have a restaurant dish right there that we made in 10 minutes. What do you think?
Looks great, Chef. I can't wait to eat it. I wish all of you could taste this with us, but I hope you're cooking it at home too.
So, this is going to go perfect with our dessert, which is our next. And you guys know the rules. Between dishes, we always take a sip and a cheers. Cheers to Rhienas and Brown. It's been fun. Can't wait to make a dessert for you. And also, I've had some great WebExes with the guys, Ron and Josh, about things that we're going to do when the world opens up again. Fun barbecue for you guys up in White Plains, and some other cool events that we can do actually in person. We can actually taste my food. And hopefully some of you that have been cooking along can come up, ask questions, anything you want to talk about, anything over the last 3 weeks that you've thought about, I can answer in person, and we can go from there. So email Melissa as far as any questions, any interest in having events with them moving forward. Reach out to her and she can give you specifics on that. So we have our oil on about a 6 right here. It's nice and warm. If you guys have a thermometer, get it to 350, 340, 350, it'll be perfect. And then we're going to put together our batter for our zeppoli. All right. How's that shot there with that bowl? Can you see that there? Perfect. All right, we're going to start on our zeppoli batter. Your oil is nice and warm. That's the most important thing. And we're going to take our vanilla extract in a bowl. And we're going to take our eggs. I'm making a very small batch. I'm just going to do 2 eggs. You guys want to make a bigger batch, that's fine. And I'm also going to take the sugar, and we're going to hit that right in there. And we are going to whisk that up and get all those flavors ingratiated in our wet ingredients ready to go. Then we're going to add our dry. And this is a super easy dessert that you guys can make. So, now that we have our vanilla extract, our sugar, and our eggs all mixed together, we're going to add in our flour, a little bit of baking powder. That's going to help those Zeppelis rise. I'm going to whisk that a little bit. We want it to get all mixed up. We want it to be a thick batter. Not too thin because it'll just fall apart in the oil. And then we're going to add our ricotta last. Nice and thick. We're going to take our ricotta. We're going to add that in. That's the key to this dish. We're making a nice light zeppoli. This isn't going to be like a heavy donut. This is going to be a nice zeppoli. I'm going to take the whisk, clean it off, and then I'm going to use a rubber spatula to finish this off. Because we just really want to fold our ricotta in. We don't want to lose the integrity of that cheese. And then we're going to have our batter. Now you guys can add a little, you can subtract a little. This isn't like we're baking in the oven, so it has to be perfect. We can try out a few. If we think it needs to be a little thicker, which this one does, we're going to add a little more flour. You guys have the measurements. I'm just eyeing it out, so yours should be perfect.
What's the consistency you would equate it to?
Definitely thicker than a pancake batter. If you've ever made clam cakes or fritters or anything like that, we want it to be nice and thick like that. Because we're going to scoop it right into hot oil, but not too dry. So the ricotta makes it nice and moist. I think we're all mixed in there. And the key to this dish, you don't have to be, but a 1 or 2 ounce scoop. If you don't have an ice cream scoop like this, we're just going to use a spoon. And if you have a spoon, you're going to spoon it in there, and you're just going to drop it on with your finger. This works perfect. If you have a bigger one, you can use that as well. Just fill it halfway. This is a 2 ounce, so we're going to use most of it. I'm going to take our batter, and we're going to drop it right in the oil. I'm going to do a few of them, because I know the crew is hungry, so I'm going to make some zeppoli for them.
Well, I grew up with these, so I can't wait to taste this. So I'm glad that I see you throwing in some extras for the crew.
Of course. And this is a spin on the normal ones you would see. Sometimes you see almost like the big ones, like a funnel cake. These are mini. If you want to get fancy, you can take a squeeze bottle and put your Nutella in there. And we can actually fill them with Nutella on the inside. We're just going to smear the plate a little bit today. But you can definitely use different fillings. I use strawberry preserves, creme anglaise, and Nutella. Salted caramel is a good one. So you can do a few different ones. So with if you have a slotted spoon, it works perfect. Tongs also work perfect. We just want to move them around a little bit so they get cooked on all sides. While that is cooking, it's only going to take a few minutes if your oil is at 350, okay? We're going to take a separate bowl, and we're going to put a little sugar in it. Now, if you want to do cinnamon and sugar mixture, we're going to toss our finished product in here so there's a nice little sugar coating. I've also done it with cinnamon and sugar. It gives it a nice bite with the cinnamon.
Chef, can I make that batter beforehand and put it in the refrigerator? Will it rise? Will it change? What about that?
It will rise and thicken a little bit. It's actually, if you have the time, let it sit in the fridge for about a half an hour. It'll get stiffer, easier to work with, especially if you don't have a scoop and you're using a spoon. It'll slide right off in there and be perfect. Any questions yet? You guys are frying desserts, you're making chicken and Madeira. 3 weeks with me and you're all professional chefs, right? Yes. Okay, what are the questions we have? Casey?
Casey has a question.
Casey's first night behind the camera. She's doing amazing. She has a question for us.
What?
Now she's camera shy.
Well, so sometimes, like, people cook in smaller kitchens. Is there a way to compact everything? Like, cook with less pans. You come on the set and you have, like, 5 pans going and everything. Do you have any recommendations for people who have a little bit smaller space?
So for tonight's dish, we did 1 pan for the chicken and 1 pan for our zeppoli. In the past couple of weeks, it's been a little more involved. I want to do something fun and easy for our last session together. So 1 pot of oil and 1 pan. A lot of times you can use the same pan for different things, especially if it's all going into the same dish. Like we use the same pan for our chicken and for our sauce. So there's no need to pull out a lot of pans. These are just for show. Magic of TV. It looks cooler when I have a bunch of pans in it. So the best way to tell if these are done is you take the biggest one out. You want to line a plate with a paper towel just so it soaks up that extra oil. And we are going to pop it open. And there's still, see how there's still a little bit of ricotta in the very middle? So that means we've got about 30 seconds left. We want to continue cooking those until it's just moist and still cooked on the inside. So we're going to set that aside. Give it another minute. While that's cooking, we're going to take our fancy schmancy plate here and our Nutella, which is nice and warm because it's been sitting on the set. So somebody asked, do you keep Nutella in the fridge or in the cupboard? I keep mine in the cupboard. Easier to work with, softer. So we're just going to put a dollop on a plate like this. We're going to do a big one because we have a few. And we're just going to smear it like that, and that's going to act as a bed for our zeppoli. So I just checked one, so I know that these are done, but you can open another one if you want, because hopefully you're making a few. We're going to take our paper towel lined plate, throw them on there, just get that excess oil off. These come out perfect because I used an ice cream scoop. If they're different shapes, that's fine. They don't have to be perfectly round every time. It's all about the flavor. And we're just going to let these...
Okay, I'm very impressed with how perfectly round they are. That I can't believe nobody's making comments about that yet.
It's all about the scoop, right? They would still be round if you use a spoon, not as perfectly round as they are, but they basically look like they came from Dunkin' Donuts, right? So while they're warm, all the oil has been patted off. We're just going to roll them in our sugar. If you have cinnamon, throw a pinch of cinnamon in there. We want it to be nice and coated. I'm going to go right on our Nutella there. And we're going to do 3 for this. You guys hopefully make as many as you want. I know Ron and Josh cook with their kids. They got a couple sons that they're cooking with, so they probably making a big batch. And there's 3. Also for fun, you don't need it, but I have a little whipped cream. I'm going to throw in a plate. And then I also have, again, not necessary, but I'm just going to throw a little lemon zest on there. That's going to set off that cream. And we're just going to take a very little bit of lemon zest and go right on our whipped cream. So we have a fun way of plating our Nutella zeppoli. Now, like I said, strawberry, raspberry preserves, any kind of filling you want, creme anglaise, salted caramel, and you can actually fill them, if you have a squeeze bottle with a tip on it, put your Nutella or your salted caramel right in there, stick it right into the zeppoli and fill it up. And that way you have a stuffed zeppoli. This is super easy. You guys don't have to mess around with squeeze bottles or anything like that. But there you go. What do you think? It's a pretty good dinner right there, if you ask me.
So what about a starch? If you were to do a starch, you talked about maybe a roasted potato or something. What else could you do that would go good with the chicken?
I do this with an asparagus risotto, which is just a traditional risotto, and then you can either grill or cook off your asparagus ahead of time, slice it up into small bits, and then toss it into your risotto. Put it underneath that chicken, and you have a fully composed dish. And you can also, spinach, Brussels sprouts, broccoli, any kind of vegetables you want go with chicken, right? What else we got? How'd your Zeppelis come out at home? Now I'm asking you a question. Somebody has to answer me. Melissa?
Yeah. Did anybody cook them? Everybody's saying like yum and they look great, but did anybody cook alongside of Chef?
I know that we only have 30 minutes, so I tend to go a little fast so I can get everything in. But you can continue to cook it. If your outside is starting to get a little too dark, just back off the heat a little bit. Try a couple. The good thing about this is we made a big batch of batter. We can make a dozen today, put it in the fridge. It'll last for a week. They're great for breakfast. Sunday brunch with a Bloody Mary, perfect dish. But you can store it in a quart container or Tupperware and just throw it in your fridge, and you can reuse this oil as well. What I do with this, because it's hot, we'll pull it off the burner, we'll let it cool down. And when it's cool, probably tomorrow morning, I go right back in the jug that it came in. So, I get the big ones because I do a lot of cooking. I'll pull it right back into this, and then I'll mainly use it for Zeppelis, nothing else because of allergies and whatever. But if you want to use it again, you can. If not, you can put it in this and chuck it. I wouldn't pour it down the drain, right? So, what else? Somebody made Zeppelis? Oh. It's really been a pleasure cooking for you guys for these 3 weeks. Like I said, feel free to ask any questions that you want. Right on this Facebook post, you can continue to ask questions for the next couple of weeks. I'll see it. Also, you can shoot your questions to Melissa or directly to me at chefkempd.com. If you'd like me to come and cook at your home, I'm available for that too. That's what I do. I'm a private chef. Just shoot me an email. We'll set something up. And I really look forward to doing some fun events in person with Rhienas and Brown, Ron and Josh, and all the crew. Look forward to meeting you all in person. So this is Chef Kev D for our third class. I will see you guys soon. Keep cooking.